Please note that listeners' discretion is strictly advised. Every now and then, South Africans are rocked by the depravity of a heinous act of crime. This week, we learnt of a 63-year-old woman who stands accused before the courts of murdering and dismembering her beloved 79-year-old sister, a resident of Cape Town's Bellville South. Allow News 24's journalist Lisa Lee Solomons to relay the grim aspects of the story in this edition.
The neighbor started screaming, "There's blood on a t-shirt, there's blood on a t-shirt."
Yo.
And that got the attention of everybody that was standing outside watching all this interaction. And that prompted the son, Mona, then to get out of his vehicle, run to that gate. Him and the neighbors kicked down that gate, barged into that door, into that house, and found her in the bathroom with those buckets of blood and mops. And I kid you not, Graeme, after he saw that scene, he also looked around the house and found drops of blood.
Later in the show, on this day in South African history, we look at Daveyton or Gauteng's East Rand as it was marred by a political massacre.
New episodes of The Lead air Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m.
In Rauby's pointless Braai quiz for today, who's now taking on Jordan Hill-Lewis for the DA's top spot in the upcoming party congress? I'll give you the answer a little later.
This is The Lead, and this is the South African story with your host, Graeme Robenheimer.
Moving to our top story today, and I'm going to repeat this. Please note that some of our sensitive listeners may find aspects of the following story disturbing. Well, she's got her ear on the ground in Cape Town for the socio-economic issues, crime and grime tearing through our communities today. She's a very excellent journalist, Lisa Lee Solomons. She's live with me now in our Foreshore studios. Lisa Lee, how are you? It's so good to have you back. The last time we spoke was at the end of last year, right?
Yes. And I'm starting my second day back from leave. So I'm starting also with your show, Graeme.
Sure. And you came back with a bang.
With a bang.
Look, this story's been the talk of the town today, trending on the front page of News 24. It is among the most read at the moment. A lot of comments coming in. Take us to this initial discovery last week, Thursday, in David Street, Bellville South here in Cape Town, in specifically the northern suburbs. What did residents there say about what they noticed out of the ordinary in what I can only imagine to be a close-knit community street that everybody knows everybody, right?
Absolutely. So we had gotten wind on Monday that there was a woman that's going to appear in court, in the Bellville Magistrates Court, a family member, by the way, who was accused of beheading her sister. Her sister is 79-year-old, is a 79-year-old Auntie Connie, as she's fondly known in Bellville, in the street there where she lives. But her full name is Constance. The curtains of Auntie Connie's house was the trigger point for this neighbors, who also seemed to be the one neighbor who also is the mother-in-law of Auntie Connie's only son. And she and Auntie Connie had quite a good relationship because they live technically opposite each other, and they have a bird's eye of each other's house. So every morning they would greet, because the neighbors knew that she lived alone. Auntie Connie lived alone in the house, and that she was a pensioner and had nobody else to stay with her or to assist her. And her son would come every now and then to come and visit. And because the neighbors knew that they would obviously look out for her and assist her or take her to the shops if that needed to be the case. And this one morning, they noticed that Auntie Connie's curtains were a bit not the way it usually is. It was folded in a manner that one would suspect something maybe had happened inside the house. And Auntie Margaret, the mother-in-law of the son of Auntie Connie, and she had called for Auntie Connie to come out just to make sure that everything's okay at the house. And nobody came out. Auntie Margaret then calls the neighbor around the house from Auntie Connie's house. And the neighbor comes out, and the neighbor also calls for Auntie Connie, and nobody comes out. But then as the neighbor is leaving the property, a woman peeps through the curtains, and she says that they don't need to worry about anything because Auntie Connie's fine. She's not here. She's in Robertson. And that she's going to be back like a few days later. And this woman, who we now know is the accused in this matter, was there in the house to clean up and make sure that the house is okay. For when Auntie Connie comes back. What we know, as you know, because News 24 was obviously there. I was there at the property. I was speaking to the residents. What we now know is from Auntie Margaret saying that the minute the accused said to the neighbors that everything's fine and she was tidying up, she meant that she was actually, cleaning up the blood off the floor as what she had just done. So Auntie Connie, according to the state at the court, we understand that this murder took place either between Wednesday and Thursday morning. The police arrived at the property around about just after 5 o'clock because they were alerted then to something had gone wrong in the house. How they were told this is that on Thursday, when Auntie Margaret had phoned her son after learning from the neighbors that Auntie Connie's apparently in Robertson, she called her son-in-law and told her, "Listen, we understand that Auntie Connie's in Robertson, but she never told us that because that is the kind of relationship the neighbors had. Is that Auntie Connie would tell them, if she's going somewhere, and they would be able to see who rocks up at the house because literally the houses are like just a few seconds apart from each other.
These are small masonettes.
Yes,
the
correct.
flats are on top of each other.
Absolutely.
It's very narrow buildings.
Correct. And then Auntie Margaret had called the son, and the son then came to the house around 1 o'clock on that Thursday.
This is Mornay now.
Mornay, yes.
Yeah.
Mornay's the son. And he arrived on Thursday, just after 1 o'clock, and spoke to the accused. But the funny thing with that, Graeme, is that he did not go inside the house. He was not invited inside the house. The accused had spoke to him outside the property, and Mornay was located in the yard of where this incident took place. And this accused said that, exactly what she told the neighbors, that Auntie Connie's in Robertson and she's going to be back over the weekend or days later. Mornay then goes to his mother-in-law and says, well, she said the same thing to me. But as Mornay is leaving the property to get to his car where his mother-in-law is also standing and watching this whole interaction happening, the accused locks the gate. But what they found very strange was that she locked the gate with a padlock, and that never happens. And unbewildered or unknowing to Auntie Margaret and to the son-in-law, there was a neighbor, like you just said now, the houses are on top of each other. So there was a neighbor already watching all of this from the top. And
like a bird's eye view.
Yes. And that
seeing
freaks me out.
Yeah. But can you just imagine the picture of this residence on top of the house, seeing the back of now the accused, talking to Mornay at the front gate and then locking it with the padlock. Please continue.
Oh my gosh, Graeme, it's like something out of a movie, eh? And the accused, after she's locked the gate, she, instead of walking, a normal person would turn around, your back's facing the gate and you're walking into the house. But she did not do that. She reversed back. And now we understand why. Because when she reversed back, walking into the house, the neighbor started screaming, "There's blood on a T-shirt, there's blood on a T-shirt." Yo. And that got the attention of everybody that was standing outside watching all this interaction. And that prompted the son, Mornay, then to get out of his vehicle, run to that gate. Him and the neighbors kicked down that gate, barged into that door, into that house, and found her in the bathroom with those buckets of blood and mops. And I kid you not, Graeme, after he saw that scene, he also looked around the house and found drops of blood. And the drops of blood led into a bedroom inside the house where his mother's hands were cut off and put under a bed. Now let that sink in. Your only son is seeing his mother's hands being cut off. That's besides that also, she was beheaded. Her head, and it's something that is very emotional when I think about it. She had cut off her sister's head and placed it in a Tupperware and placed it onto a shelf inside the house. Graeme, it's so bizarre because I kid you not, even the sources that we spoke to when I was at the scene on Monday, we were told that the cops were so traumatized by this that some of them even threw up in the road after they had carried the body parts in white bags to the forensic vehicles. And while this was happening, there was obviously scores of residents standing and watching all of this because the residents could tell me exactly, what took place. There was 2 big bags of body parts inside. There was a wheelie bin that they saw stuff being taken out, which we now know were also body parts of it. We also understand from some of the residents that were also at the scene watching everything, is that when the police got into the house, they left the door open and they could see Tupperwares on the kitchen table. Yeah. And some of the residents were trying to take photos of it, and the police saw that, and then they just asked them to please move away from the scene because it is still an active crime scene.
Wow.
I mean, shivering stuff, eh?
100%. It appears nosy neighbors were very integral in sort of tipping off the police, right? And getting the family members involved, albeit a little bit too late. But what do we know about the circumstances regarding the sisters staying in the same house. Do they live in the same house? What did you find out in that?
Yeah, so we now understand that the sisters do not live in the house. The accused, who is Aletta Rose, what she told the state also in court on Monday.
Right?
A pensioner, yes.
They're both around the similar age?
Correct. She's 63 and her elder sister, Auntie Connie, is 79 years old.
Sure.
What we heard also on Monday inside court, because remember she's arrested for murder, we heard that she has no job. She lives on the street. She doesn't have a fixed address. So she basically is a scatterer. She doesn't have a fixed place to stay. The only reason why she was at Auntie Connie's house last week is that the weekend before, they had buried their brother. And she had stayed just a few days also at Auntie Connie's house and was planning to leave also in that week. What happened in that space after the funeral up until when she was murdered, we do not know. Apparently more will come out during the investigation, as the police says, as well will be presented in the court. I just want to take the readers back to Monday also when we appeared in court, Graeme. I mean, I saw the person, the accused, who stands accused of murdering and beheading a sister in this cruel way. You will never believe the persona of this woman. She is so frail and so fragile and just like a typical old auntie man with wrinkles and, very...
unassuming.
You will never ever say that she did this or that she's even accused of beheading someone. Just also thinking of that, I mean, the sources that I spoke to also that were on the scene, said to me, because I obviously probed a little bit just to find out, what weapon was used to do this, because to do all that cutting, you need to know exactly what you're doing. And they couldn't obviously say exactly what weapon was used because it's still being investigated. However, what they did say is that she knew exactly how to cut the body parts.
Wow.
She knew exactly what she was doing. This is not a...
In other words, the incisions were
precise,
right?
She knew when to stop and she knew where to start cutting.
Wow, that is just... Okay, so we don't know the motive, and I mean, obviously that's going to be purely up for investigation, and as the case goes on and the SAPS build their docket, we'll probably hear more coming out in the wash, right?
Absolutely.
But something was revealed at court on Monday, which I think is one of the most striking parts of the story, notwithstanding the gruesome, discovery in and itself. What did you find out from prosecutors at the Bellville Magistrates Court?
As if the story isn't gruesome enough, eh? So obviously the prosecutor told the court that looking at the dockets, they understand that she has a previous conviction, Aletta Rose, who stands accused now of her sister's murder. She's got a previous case also dating back to 1996, where she stands accused of murdering her brother-in-law. Now, we must also understand, and the reader needs to understand, is that there is no other information regarding that. On Monday, when I'm going to be back in court for this case, there will be more information as to what took place in that case of where she stands accused or where she served sentences already for murdering her brother-in-law in 1996. So I can't say it's bizarre, Graeme, because, I mean, she's already been found guilty of murdering a family member in 1996, and now she stands accused again of this time murdering a sister.
Yeah.
So something, must be, something's not right here.
But I think it's probably cause enough for prosecutors to go, look, once bail proceedings formally come around, they'll oppose bail, right?
Yes, they're going to oppose bail according to the state. Also that the accused also has made it categorically clear that she does not have a job and has nothing to pay towards bail. She's also approached legal aid, or will be appointing legal aid, because it took a long time in court for the magistrate to explain to the accused, because she wasn't she wasn't fully understanding what was happening to her.
Wow.
And they had to explain to her what legal aid is, and is she wanting to apply for legal aid. And only after it was, explained over and over again to her did she then agree to the legal aid representation, which means that the case was postponed on Monday to next week on Monday for a legal aid representative to come on board.
And then it'll probably be postponed again so that the legal aid can finally figure out what's happening with this case, put all the details that they need to corroborate evidence with the SAPS, and then go towards a date where they can have the formal bail hearing, right? So that's still going to be a while.
It's going to be a long process, but I mean, I don't see her coming out. It's a horrible murder.
What is the community probably still in disbelief? Bellville South is a very tight-knit area. It's close to the Bellville train station.
Yes.
It's probably like best described as a lower middle class area. It does have a little bit of crime in the area. We know violent contact crime and burglaries, according to the crime stats, and I checked them before our interview today, remain quite high in Bellville. But to put that aside, to put anything related to gang violence aside, to see something as gruesome like this within the context of Bellville South doesn't happen every day.
No, not at all, Graeme. And I mean, even in that community, in that street, in David Street where this took place, I mean, the neighbors, the eyes, if you speak to them, they are so in shock at what took place. It's impossible for me to even comprehend what actually took place on that night when they stood there and watched this several vans rock up at that house, carrying these bags of body parts, police officers throwing up. I mean, it's like something out of a movie.
Yeah.
The one auntie was saying to me, she's a neighbor from Auntie Connie as well. She was saying to me, Lisa, there is no way that somebody of normal mindset would do this. To chop off their own sister's head and hands is something that is unprecedented.
Yeah. And nothing else for the community pointed towards there being any sort of indifference between the sisters. You do report in your report for News 24 that they were spotted going to the shops and
Yes.
things seemed fine.
Absolutely. Just a day before the gruesome murder, Auntie Connie and Aleta were seen walking to a local spa with groceries, laughing and chatting like nothing was wrong. And they said that they don't even have they don't have any recall of any screaming, any shouting, or anything but between the two of them. And I mean, this accused has been living with Auntie Connie, the deceased, for at least 4 days since the funeral for the previous weekend.
Yeah.
So, and they heard nothing. And I mean, they haven't seen this woman because she's not a stranger to the area. The accused now, she's been to the area. She's been to Auntie Connie's house numerous times, but she hasn't been in the last few years. So it only became now apparent when it was the funeral that she came home with Auntie Connie after the burying their brother.
What a sad, what a disgusting, what an unbelievable but intriguing story that I'm sure you're only going to bring us updates for in the coming weeks. What a story to return to right from your leave, Lisa Lee.
Back into the heat of things, eh?
Yeah, jeepers. I don't know how you cover. How do you stay sometimes so grounded or sane when covering such heinous details? You know, I've got a little documentary coming out soon for News 24 as well. It's also got some quite insane details to it. But these things sit with you long after.
It really does, which is why I had to take a long leave, Graeme. But
Shame,
it really does. It really does. And I mean, you know, a lot of the time, people ask journalists, like, how do you switch off from these gruesome scenes that you go to? And I mean, I cover a lot of those gruesome things. I mean, I've seen crime scenes where it's you can't even put it into words, Graeme, because it's so gruesome and so disgusting that people can do this to another human being. But to answer your question, you know what? It took a long time. It's still taking a very long time for me to detach myself from a crime scene. But I think it's because it's so in me already, Graeme, that it's become the norm for me to report on these hectic crime things. And I just think that after a day like that, what always calms me down is going to the beach.
Lovely.
Like yesterday also, I went to the beach with my dog, and I just went to go and walk, and we take for granted what the sea can actually do to our minds and to our bodies. And that is my calm mechanism. And I think I'm slowly but surely starting to find my way that, you know what, it's a job, but there's also life behind that job. And the sea does that for me. So that's how I calm down.
I love it. Well, look, guys, that's Lisa Lee Solomons with the News 24 team. Huge respect for you. Really take my hat off to you and for bringing us the story. And no doubt we're going to be doing follow-ups in future as the story, you know, gets a little bit more momentum and there's more details that come on board. But I appreciate your time in the lead today.
I thank you, Graeme.
And finally,
Ending off now with On This Day in South African History. That's the 24th of March 1991. On this very day, a dozen people, including a police officer as well as 2 children, were killed in violent clashes in Daveyton on Gauteng's East Rand. This sparked widespread outrage and led the government of the time to establish a judicial inquiry. Police, however, claimed they opened fire after being attacked by a crowd. The ANC, however, disputed this, claiming its supporters were shot while defending themselves against attacks by Inkatha Freedom Party supporters. only highlighting the deep and structural political tensions of the time. In Rauby's Pointless Braai Quiz, who's now taking on Jordan Hill-Lewis for the DA's top spot in the upcoming party congress? The answer is Spusiso Dianase. He's a DA caucus leader in the Sedibeng region and has put his hand up for DA leader, meaning Jordan Hill-Lewis will no longer run unopposed. The party will elect all of its internal leaders at an elective congress in Midrand next month. For the federal chairperson position, for example, Gauteng DA leader Solium Samanga will face the incumbent Western Cape stalwart Dr. Ivan Meyer. Now, for the full list of challenges, check out Siamtanda Tapa's coverage on our website and expect News24 to bring you rolling coverage throughout. Hit like, follow and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and that way you'll be notified of all of our editions coming to you Monday to Thursday at 7 p.m. My name's Graeme Rauby, and so long as there's trusted news first, we'll always have the lead.